mercati privati, di nuove rotte globali della ricchezza, passando da Milano a Dubai e in tutte le piazze dove si ridisegna il futuro della finanza e dell'economia internazionale. Ma c'è una variabile che più di tutte trasforma il modo in cui viviamo, lavoriamo, ma anche investiamo. Qual è? La longevity. Non è solo una questione demografica, è un cambiamento profondo che, come avremo modo di capire nelle prossime interviste, modifica, ridefinisce la pianificazione, i modelli di consulenza, persino il concetto stesso di valore del tempo, perché viviamo più a lungo, è vero, ma in modo diverso, più frammentato, con nuove famiglie, nuovi bisogni finanziari. Per aiutarci a capire come questo fenomeno stia ridisegnando il mondo del wealth management, abbiamo con noi uno dei massimi esperti mondiali in materia. Chiedo quindi alla regia di aprire il collegamento con Joe Collin, direttore della MIT Age Lab di Boston, che dovrebbe essere qui con noi. Vediamo. Hi Joe, you are welcome.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I know Italy is quite close to you, to your heart.
My Italian mother would be very upset that I am not delivering this in Italian. You all should be very happy that I do not try.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Great. It is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I wish I was there with you. Today, I want to speak for a few minutes on how longevity is changing the business of advice, the business of wealth management. All of us are thinking about how artificial intelligence will change things. Many of us are thinking about digital transformation. I would suggest to you that the most powerful transformation on the business of wealth management and advice is actually demographics and the expectations and changing behaviors of a population. My team at the MIT Age Lab has been researching not just demographic and longevity change, but specifically how the business of financial advice is changing around the world, working with asset managers, distributors, advisory firms, and the like. So in the next minutes, I want to suggest to you 5 different ways that demography is changing the business of advice. The first one is obvious, why you are all here. We are living longer. I want you to think about the following. Life expectancy in Europe, North America, in 1900 was a mere 46 to 47 years old. Today, children born in the 1990s and 2000s, one half of them in Europe, United States, and parts of Asia will live 100 years. Think about what 100 years means. It does not mean more years in retirement. That is only one interpretation. I think it is also the weakest. But living 100 years, start asking yourself certain questions. You see, longevity has a ripple effect across the lifespan. Do we think that education that we gained in our early adulthood and youth is going to last us for 20, 30, 40, 50? Some suggest 60-year work lives are ahead of us. We should stop asking our children and our grandchildren, what do you want to be when you grow up? We should be asking them, how many things will you be when you grow up? We are going to be living in a world where school is going to never be out, and we will have to continually invest in our education to maintain our personal competitiveness to stay in the workplace. How many times will we move? Will my wife of nearly 40 years want to hear me tell the same jokes over and over again? So you see, longevity is about not just more time, and not necessarily more time at the end of life, but more new life stages and extended life stages earlier on. The second factor we should think about is not just living longer, but clients are different. Older clients are different than what we've had years before. The business of wealth management has not really changed in how it delivers advice in over 60 years. It is framed largely on delivering advice to someone, well, frankly, someone who looks just like me. But today's older clients are much different. Not only are they living longer, but they have more education than any time in history, high school, university, and beyond. Education does not make you smart, but it does give you attitude. It is the belief that, yes, things may be complex, but if I had the time, I could figure it out. Therefore, expertise, that is advisory expertise, while respected, is not held as a high esteem as it once did. And boy, we're not just more educated as a population as we are aging, we are now using technology more than ever. Information is free and cheap and constant. So simply saying that you're going to provide me with information or education is not good enough. Think about this. In the United States, at least, baby boomers, those over the age of 62, 13% are already using ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. The competitor of wealth management today is not just AI, but it's Amazon, it's Zappos, and the like. This generation of older consumers and clients expects digital superiority. And by the way, it's not just about numbers and education. In fact, think about this, by 2047, and it's already happened in Italy, there will be more people in retirement than there will be younger people. But don't just look at the numbers, don't look at the education, not just the technology. As I say, the longevity economy, the 60 plus consumer is the third largest economy in the world after the gross domestic product of the United States and China. 30% of the population worldwide, I'm sorry, controls 30% of the global spending power. Indeed, what we see now is a generation that is built on expectations. The new generation gap is that next generation of old believes that there's a pill, a product, or a policy that's going to help them live longer and better. How can wealth management and advice help me navigate what that future is going to be? And with more education and more income, the expectations are even higher than previous generations. The third factor is longer lives are extending and creating entirely new life stages. So we're not just thinking about retirement, we're now thinking about new life stages earlier on. There's something out there called emerging adulthood. And that's where in Europe, United States, and parts of Asia, young adults are staying home longer than ever before. In fact, think about this. In the 50s and 60s, adulthood was generally thought to be about 18 years old. Your parents said, get a job, go to college, join the military, get married. But the bottom line was what? Get out, you're 18. But then the 70s and 80s came, and then all of a sudden we said, well, no, adulthood maybe is in your 20s. Today, in Europe, the United States, we have emerging adulthood. In Africa and Asia, we call it waithood. Where are you ready for this? Adulthood is now beginning in our mid 30s. In fact, some are saying it doesn't start until 36. That means delayed wealth accumulation, staying home longer, not finding a partner, not moving out, not having children overall. So, what we're finding now is that this whole new way of living is extending life, but extending sections, which means we're going to need new advice in those parts of our lives that are unprecedented, not really known before. And by the way, if we're delaying leaving the house and we're delaying finding a job and we're delaying finding a partner, what else is delayed? Well, as we know in Italy and around the world, we have a demographic winter. We now have far fewer children than ever before. This is not new news. This is not due to economics, politics, or climate change. Over the last 70 years, the birth rate has dropped by 50%. And there's no looking back. No country has been able to come up with a policy to increase the birth rate. Why is this an issue for wealth management? Well, there's the obvious, there's the pensions and support of older populations, but there's something else. Remember, the number one way we age well in older age is not by following doctor's orders, not by saving our money, not by choosing our parents well, but frankly, our adult children. How do we start speaking to clients about how much does an adult daughter cost? The number two caregiver after your spouse or your partner is your oldest adult daughter. Well, she's either never been born, she's very busy, she lives far away, or I know it's hard for an Italian audience to think about this, but in the United States, 27% of families are estranged from their children. That is, not in contact at all. What is the new line of income necessary to make that happen? Fourth factor, the context of living across the lifespan has changed. The fastest growing household in the world are households of one. The UN predicts that by 2050, 35%, more than 1 in 3 households, will be only one person. Do you know that Brussels, Munich, Oslo, Paris, more than 50% of all the people who live in those amazing cities live alone? The cost of living solo is effectively double what it is to live with a partner or with a family member, a new cost and new source of need in the future. Finally, the fifth factor. As I write in my book, The Longevity Economy, the future is female. Think about it. It is, shall we say, the obvious, but she is the chief consumer officer of the home. She makes 80 cents to 90 cents on the dollar or euro of all healthcare decisions. She makes the majority of decisions on buying cars. She's the chief purchasing officer of the home for virtually everything. In the UK, she is already the primary home income earner overall. And by the way, whether it's the United States, whether it's the UK or China or other countries in between, women are the second largest group of people starting new businesses over the age of 50. And by the way, as we transition to the great wealth transfer, the trillions that are supposed to be going from my generation to my children, not so fast. Women will be that stopgap. Women tend to marry someone 4 to 5 years older than they are and outlive their spouse by a decade. So before that great wealth transfer goes to the younger generation, it will stop with women in their 60s and 70s for about 10 years. They will have different needs. They will have more healthcare needs. They will have different values. Their relationships with family will change. Indeed, they will need a different type of advice. So let me end on the following. The business of advice is evolving, not just because of technology, not just because of numbers, and frankly, not just because we're living longer. The demography of the client has changed. The expectations have changed. The skill set of the advisor, of the client has changed. I've already been interviewing advisors in Germany, UK, and I hope to do so in Italy as well. And I just came back from Greece doing the same thing. All the better advisors are saying the conversations have changed. It's no longer just about money, stocks, bonds, and equities. It's about what do we do in retirement? How do I think about the emotional side of aging and retiring well? So let me leave you with this. I would suggest to you that the future of advice in the longevity economy has 3 new pillars of infrastructure. First, a different type of AI, that is anticipatory intelligence. The future of advisors is not going to be how well they can pick stocks or how quantified analytical thinking they have. The computer will do that. AI will do that. But can they anticipate and help me identify opportunities and challenges at every life stage? Yes, we'll continue to ask people, what do you want to do in retirement? But we all know the answers are the same: travel, family, and there's much to do. Living longer is new for all of us. We need someone to help guide us. So anticipatory intelligence, new conversations that make me think, that bring up conversations with my spouse. Secondly, new content, multimedia education to engage me to think about more than money. Questions like, where am I going to live? How am I going to navigate career transitions? How will I provide and receive care? And then finally, and this is the value proposition. Advisors, we can get information online. We can find expertise easily. Real value is solutions. how will the next generation of advice provide me with new connections, linking clients not just to money, not just to financial security and products, but with solutions and providing me access with experts, service providers from aging in place specialists, geriatric care managers, career transition specialists. Business advice needs to catch up to the client. She is expecting new and bigger things in living longer and better. On that note, I want to thank all of you for having me. I hope I did not speak too quickly, and it would be a joy to see you in person sometime. Thank you for inviting me.